Good morning, everyone. I'm going to type just one little bit of housekeeping here to, oh, look, my mic is looking good. Okay, great. I'm Ted Rall. That's Robby West filling in for Manila Chan. Manila's out today dealing with a house emergency, but we'll be back tomorrow. You're watching the TMI Show for Ted Manila Show, also for Ted Manila Information, also Too Much Information. Thank you very much. It's Thursday, July 17th, 2025. Thanks, Robby, for sitting in once again. And today we're going to be talking about HOAs, which the New York City version of those would be co-op boards or condo boards, but they're all basically the same thing, and how they're fascist dictatorships. A lady actually ended up in Florida, a Florida woman, ended up in jail for a week because her grass wasn't quite up to code. Her garage door was dented, and neighbors got a little annoyed, and so off to jail she went. We'll get it.
And she had a dirty mailbox.
The dirty mailbox is probably the most unforgivable. That's pretty crazy. We're also going to be talking about the latest fallout, the Jeffrey Epstein story. Unlike Donald Trump's wishes, refuses to go away.
It's not going to go away.
17% of the country approves of what's going on. So there's bipartisan agreement. Donald Trump has finally unified the country. Yes. So there's that. Everyone wants to know what's actually in those files, even though the Trump administration doesn't seem to want us to know about that.
Well, there are no files, remember? I mean, there are no files. They don't exist.
What files? There are no files.
Yeah, there are no files.
And so in Minnesota, there's a war going on between the judiciary, who are trying to prevent their courts from becoming stalking grounds for ICE agents, and the Trump administration is looking to see if they can throw judges in jail for impeding ICE. Yeah, I actually don't know what you're going to have to say about this, Robby, but I'm looking forward to talking to you about it. We all know about rock bands that have had feuds. Not that rock is the only format for this, but Jane's Addiction's become the latest one. The lead singer, Perry Farrell, got into fisticuffs during a live concert last fall. Now there's multiple lawsuits flying around. So we'll get into rock feuds and the history of them. I mean, hell, I was just listening to the Ramones before we went on the air here, and they had some famous feuding going on. And I had sort of a front row seat to those since I was friends with one of them. And finally, there's 4 people are dead in Florida, from flesh-eating bacteria. And so we'll tell you what you need to know about that. That's actually a really scary story. Yeah. So let's get straight to it. We all know that HOAs, basically a homeowners association, most people know what these are, but for people who don't, these you pay a fee. You do own your property, you own your house, but you have to adhere to a set of rules.
Does that mean that you don't own it?
You own it. Well, I mean, I guess you could say, does anybody really own anything, right? I mean, like, property rights are sacrosanct in the American capitalist system. However, like, let's say you decided to build your own nuclear missile silo on your farm. The federal government might have concerns about that. If you were, pouring toxins into the groundwater, probably the EPA would have something to say about that. So, it's your property and you can do what you want, but within limits, right?
If you're paying property taxes, all you're doing is renting. You're renting from the state. You never own it.
Well, that's true. And then, even if you own it free and clear from the bank. San Francisco, for example, is one of the cities that has codes about like what color paint, what types of paint. You can only use like earth tones in San Francisco to paint your house. If you paint it like a really, really bright color, you might get slammed. When I was growing up in Kettering, Ohio, my mom was judiciously called up Chemlon, that was actually the name of the company, to come and spray, because there were police who cruised around and would give tickets if they would count the number of dandelions you had on your lawn. And I think it was $50 per dandelion, which could add up pretty quickly because dandelions reproduce fast. Obviously looking back on it, that's really evil. I mean, kids and dogs and cats, walk around on that grass, which was all covered with poisons. But anyway, the point is, so with an HOA, it just goes further, right? With an HOA, you are in a situation where you agree to usually some pretty strict standards. So let me sort of break down what happened here in this particular case. So Irena Green, she lives in Riverview, that's outside Tampa in southwestern Florida. She was arrested. She was driving. She got pulled over for a minor traffic violation. Turned out that there was an outstanding warrant filed against her for basically contempt of court. So how did this whole thing all play out? So basically, the HOA was pissed off at her because her grass was brown. There were were described as minor dents in her garage door, mildew on the mailbox. It sounds like mildew on, like Connie Francis just died. Lipstick on your collar, mildew on your mailbox, and a cargo van in her driveway. Apparently, they were really pissed off about the cargo van. She said that there were lots of other neighbors who had crappy grass, that there had been a drought. It was hard to maintain. And anyway, she was given 30 days to address the violations. She didn't, so the HOA took her to court. She said she never received the notice, even though she called the courthouse to see, hey, when's my court date? Apparently, nobody was able to answer that question. I actually believe her account of that. So the judge held her in contempt of court for not showing and issued an arrest warrant. So she was pulled over while driving down the street on a minor thing. The cop runs her plates, finds out that there's an outstanding warrant, arrests her for not showing up to court, and she spent a week in jail. She tried to resolve the issues at the house. She sold the van, she cleaned up the mailbox, bought grass seed, but basically the court response, her handwritten response to the court was rejected. They said she should have showed up in court. And basically she feels like she was treated like Billy the Kid over some pretty relatively minor stuff. And it kind of just sort of points out how minor issues can really spin out of control in our society. Now, on the other hand, I want to be fair here, and I could really imagine being one of her neighbors, and nobody wants to live next to a slob, and it sounds like she was a bit of a slob, and so the homeowners associations charged with doing this. Now, Robby, to me, this brings up a separate point also, and I'd really be curious about this. One time I was pulled over for speeding, and the cop ran my plates and found that there was an outstanding warrant for me. And I didn't have any idea. Also over speeding. It tells you a little bit about my driving style. And but they never told me, right? That basically it's crazy. I had gotten a ticket. I paid the ticket. I had the canceled check for paying the ticket, but they never registered that I paid it. So I got the warrant for non-payment of this ticket. So I got handcuffed in front of my baby son at the time and taken off to, Montauk jail. It wasn't exactly, alligator Alcatraz, but still, it kind of sucked. And I kind of feel like if there's an outstanding warrant against you, it should be automatic that whatever address they have on file for you at the DMV should mail you something so that that there's that the court's looking for you, and you can contact the court and say, oh, hey, do I owe you money? What do you need from me? And so but otherwise you just have people driving around. They have no idea that that they're in any trouble. Not to mention you're kind of wasting the police officer's time too, because a lot of these cases would just go away if people just contacted the courts, but they don't have any idea. Anyway, sorry to be so long-winded, Robby.
No, you're good. Well, I mean, as far as about the warrants, I completely agree. I once got a speeding ticket in Silver Bow County in Montana. It has a population of 700. So it's a bustling metropolis. It's all ranches. Well, I was on the interstate, and I was going about 90.
As one does.
Well, there's nothing there. Well, naturally, I go through. I get nailed by a highway patrol lady. Now, here's the funny part about it. So when I pull over, I was working for a company called Alamon at the time, installing fiber optic cable. Well, when I pull over, because as one does in Montana and ranch country, you go shooting a lot. So in my truck, it was loaded with guns. Rifles in the back seat, pistols right there in the front seat. Now, I'm just going to go out and have some fun, right? And so she comes up, and of course, I have both my hands on the steering wheels. Ma'am, I just want you to know, as you can plainly see, there's lots of guns here. How do you want me to do this? So I don't care. You're fine. But are you aware that you're speeding? I said, yes, ma'am, I'm aware that I'm speeding. So she gave me a ticket. And the whole time that she was writing me up this ticket, we were just jaw-jawing about all these guns. It looks like I'm a member of a militia. If I was in New York, I would be I would be done. Done. But in Montana, it's just like, if you don't have a gun, we'll give you one when you're registered to vote. Pretty wild. Anyway, can I get back to this? I forgot about the ticket, as one does.
Right.
And so I got back. I got back home, and I was cleaning out my truck, and I was, oh hell, I'm like a month past due on this ticket. And so I called it. So I called the county, and I paid. Said, oh, are you aware there's a warrant out for your arrest for non-payment? I was like, no, ma'am, I ain't. But now that I paid y'all, I reckon that's going to go away, right? She said, well, it should, but just check the website and see. Like, y'all have a website? She said, after a fashion. I mean, you got to remember, this is Ranch County and Montana. All right. I mean, it's not, no, it is what it is. But no, I completely agree with you. It's stupid. But I mean, more to the point, I'm not a homeowner. As y'all know, I'm currently renting a storage unit to live in. So there's not really a bustling HOA that I have to deal with here for my storage container.
But that could happen.
Oh, it could. But my question is why would anyone want to do it? Because first of all, you're giving people who you don't know, probably not even like, sounds like a bunch of Karens, especially here in Montana from California, who you damn sure don't want to tell you how your storage unit has to look that you're living in. Why would you give them that kind of power? And second, if you're looking at the house as a place to live, like it's your residence, then it seems to me that you want to keep the value as low or as stable as you could to reduce your property taxes. If you're not looking to speculate to take out loans against your house, it seems like to me you want to keep the property taxes low. So what the hell's the point?
Well, you might want to sell your house, right? So that's the point. I mean, so I think what happens is like people think, oh, if my property values go down because my next door neighbor Robby is it has a car up on blocks and has a Ted Rall's communist graffiti mural on the garage door, then it's going to be, and it's growing. Like I lived in the suburbs in Ohio when I was growing up. Every house looked exactly the same, cookie cutter housing development. We called them Huber houses after the developer who built them. And I remember across the street, we had a neighbor who was from Kentucky, and they were growing corn in their front yard instead of the standard grass. And they had some old tires there. It wasn't exactly like the biggest eyesore in the world. It's corn, I mean, it's a plant, big deal. Right. But the point is, I mean, it was a scandal in the neighborhood. You would have thought this person was, running like an internment camp, or it was Jeffrey Epstein, like raping children there. No, it was just nothing, I mean, honestly. But then my mom was like, if I ever want to sell my house, people will look across the street, they'll see the neighbor and they won't want to live here. And she's not really wrong. I mean, right. People really do look at it that way. That's why. I mean, I agree with you. There's kind of like the motivation of, you don't want to be assessed at a higher tax assessment. But
why would you?
But you also don't want your property value to go down either. Again, what if you wanted to borrow money against your house if you needed to? So I don't know.
But if you need to borrow money against your house, you got bigger problems than that. Because there's two things that you don't ever hawk. You don't ever hawk your car. You don't ever hawk your house. I mean, arguably, you also don't hawk your guns. But I mean, if you're in that situation, I mean, you've got bigger problems than that, because then once you can't pay it, you're going to lose the house.
Well, that's true. I mean, although I did go through it, and I took out a second mortgage on my last house, and ultimately I dug back out of a hole and paid it off, and I was okay. I mean, it's really for a temporary financial problem, not a long-standing problem like having a podcast that doesn't pay enough money or something like that.
Yeah, there is that. And also keep in mind, y'all. I mean, I'm speaking out of ignorance here. I'm not a homeowner. So I'm one of the peasants who look at people who own houses as like, you have reached the American dream.
No, that's true.
You are there. So I'm looking up.
It's also kind of an American hell, though, Robbie. It's
Oh,
both.
well,
Because,
Manila's going through it right now because
yeah,
one of the
exactly.
perks I have about being a renter, if something explodes, I got to just call my landlord and say, hey, guess what?
It's
This is your
busted.
problem. It's
Come
not
and fix
mine.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
No,
And
that's what
so,
I'm currently renting, and I have that thing too, right? Like if something goes wrong, I'm like, not my problem. I don't care. Come and fix it.
yep.
Kind of the ideal, I think, is like New York. Actually, if you're going to own in a city, like in a condo or in a co-op, because you really don't have, like, for example, you don't have. It's not your roof. The
Right.
building has a roof, right? So even if you're on the top floor, which I was, and you have a leak, that leak is really the building's responsibility to fix. And if you, let's say your toilet doesn't work, you have a superintendent, and you tip the superintendent every year, and then just that covers the repair. If they come one time in the year, it more than covers. The tip is more than paid for. So that's the best. But the worst, God, I remember when I had my house in the Hamptons, there was always. I know this is very white person's problems, but I mean, it was, if it wasn't one thing, it was another. So there's the tree that falls down in the storm and takes out your fence. When the fence is gone, the deer get in and eat all of your plants and eat your vegetable garden. It's like, oh, and there's the infestation of beetles. Then there's the irrigation system doesn't work, so your lawn dries up, making the beetles even more crazy. There's the broken pool, filter. There's the time that the well stopped working, and
Yep.
my son goes, "Well, do you have to fix that?" I'm like, "It's hard to have a house without running water."
Yeah.
And then
Makes it difficult.
so it's just then when that happened, the pump to the well burned out. So then you have to replace the pump. All of these things are thousands and thousands of dollars. So it can be pretty demoralizing to own a house, but the alternative is just that all your money, you never save any money, never build any equity. It all just goes into rent. So obviously owning is better financially, obviously, unless you could rent really cheap, which most people can't. But
There
anyway,
is no really cheap.
I
I
do.
mean, that doesn't exist.
So to me, this story is, it's about control, right? Like sort
Of
of like,
course.
obviously I guess the right wing argument would be like, she knew her responsibilities under the HOA. She moved into a place where she knew she had these rules. She didn't follow the rules. It was her responsibility to follow them. But the idea that like you could, first of all, let's just say for the sake of argument that she blew off the court date. Like, fuck
Right.
the HOA and they're assholes in my mildew mailbox. I don't want to go. All right, fine. But this is a civil case. A
Right.
judge really shouldn't have you arrested for blowing off a civil case.
Well, the thing is, in full disclosure, I don't really. First of all, if it was me, let's just assume, for example, if I was this lady and I own this house,
Mm,
and I work a lot, as you know, and if my grass was growing a little bit, was growing up a little bit high, uh, and some schmuck who I don't know is going to come and say, Robbie, you need to get this grass under control. It is above the regulation quarter inch that
you
we
got
that we
lions
accept.
running through it.
I would my default position, and Ted, you know this.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
I would say you can fuck all the way off. I'm not going to do it, and just to spite you, I'm going to put a Confederate flag over my garage. I am that kind of person. I
Right.
will escalate this thing to the very end. I will give you the bayonet. Leave me the hell alone. And so part of it, I have no idea. I don't know this lady, obviously, but part of me, in my heart of hearts, I don't think that she would. I think she's probably a nicer person than I am. I would go and I would have painted cat crap on my mailbox just to spite the HOA. I mean, that's just the kind of person that I
But then,
am.
then she gets fined.
Don't pay it. Fuck them. What are they going to do?
I know this reminds me a little bit of
I mean,
Saturday
seriously.
school. When I was
I mean,
when I was a kid, they got rid of suspension and expulsion as a punishment in high school, and they were like, okay, so you go to anything you do wrong, you get Saturday school. So I remember I asked someone, probably my counselor, So what happens if you don't go to Saturday school? Well, then you get twice as many Saturday schools. I go, what if you don't go to those? Then you have 4 times as many. I'm like, huh. So I just never went and graduated.
I mean, that's my point, right? I mean, now,
Right.
granted, now this lady, yeah, I mean, they put her in the pokey, which to me is kind of bizarre. But I mean, if it was me, Ted, I'm telling you, I would escalate this thing. I'm not white trash. I might look like it, but I'm really not. However, I could go that route very easily. I'm that kind of guy. I will start growing corn in my yard. I will
Corn is yummy.
I will ask my neighbors to bring me their dandelions and just go and transplant them. I will turn the entire yard into dandelions. This is the kind of person that I am. I'm a very.
But you probably would. But Robby, let's just say you're hunting for a house, and then you decide, this is the house I want. Is in an HOA community,
right?
Would you agreed to the rules? Will you sign a document like my grass will be between 3 and 3.6 inches tall. I will never let my children run across it. Yeah, I mean, would you agree to those rules, or would you just be like fucking HOA?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you go into an area that has an HOA community, keep in mind, I mean, this is new to me. I have no idea. Do you have to join it?
Oh, yeah, you do. And you have to pay a monthly fee.
I would tell them to eat a bag of dicks. Right.
So you just don't do it. I mean, I've never, except for living in a co-op in New York. And, the rules are so crazy. Like, I had this, this is actually probably a Rumble Premium topic at some point. But when I lived in this co-op, I had this woman who lived beneath me. She worked for Fox News as a producer. And she was always complaining about the noise that me and my ex-wife made. She was like, you guys are always pounding around. You're wearing boots. Not true. I mean, my ex is Asian, so shoes were off at the door. And she's like, you have no carpets. Not true. I collect carpets from Central Asia. So I have more carpets than I know what to do with.
You have them on your wall. I've seen them.
Yeah, exactly. A carpet. There's no shortage of carpets at Chateau Rall. So, and it just basically kept escalating with her. And finally, she complained to the co-op board. So I had to go for a hearing. She put me on trial. And the co-op board president heard from both of us. And she's like, they're so loud. It's really crazy. I hear them at 4:00 in the morning. I'm like, wait. We both sleep through the night. We're never up late. No one's up at 4 a.m. That just can't be true. You're lying. Right. And she's like, I hear it. I'm like, what's it? She's like, I hear it all night long. It walks. Because she didn't speak great English. And it's like, and then I'm like, wait, you mean my cat? She's like, yes, I hear your cat running up and down the hall, with the zoomies. And I'm like, then the co-op board president looks at her and goes, wait, you're complaining about the cat? He goes, we're done here. Get out of here. And so I was off the hook there. But then there's a coda to this story. So the apartment was old. It was the second oldest co-op in New York City, 1909. So it had hardwood floors. And every now and then there was one nail in the middle of in my dining room that would stick out, like, maybe an inch. So right. You can't have that. So whenever I noticed it, like sort of worrying its way out of the wood, take a hammer and pound it down, right?
Right. So
this happened. I did it a bunch of times. One day I do it, and I hear this deafening crash from beneath the floor. I'm like, oh shit! I don't know what happened. Turns out she had just installed a giant ceiling fan and lamp in the floor, because another, like as Paul Simon said, one man's ceiling is another man's floor. Yep. And so she pushed my bolt up. It touched flush, and then I pounded it down. The thing fell out and went right on her dining room table, exploded and broke everything like a bomb going off. So of course she complained about that and said that she was like, I don't know what you did, but you did something. I'm like, of course, I know nothing. I have no idea what you are talking about.
It's the chicken blood exorcist that we talked about a couple weeks ago. That's exactly what this is.
Different apartment. But it was like, I was just like, God, I mean, and I have other like weird apartment, neighbor stories too. But yeah, that's what it's not good to live too close to other human beings. All right, we should
Hold on, let me just say something real quick because you mentioned
yeah.
she didn't speak very good English. If this is during the Trump administration, you could just called ICE, and you could have gotten rid of this annoying neighbor. I
I
want to
suspect
point
she
this
was a
out.
legal immigrant because she
It
was
doesn't matter.
gainfully employed at Fox. Although
It
you
doesn't
never
matter.
know. You never know. I mean, I think I told you that story, like when I was on with Sean Hannity, and he was employing an illegal immigrant
Yeah.
to do hair at Fox, and it crossed my mind to rat her out, but then to rat him out really. But then I was like, I didn't want her to lose her job, and I was like, okay, well, it's not really her fault, so I'll leave it. But you're right that this is you can always settle scores using a fascist state. Drop a
Hey, no,
dime.
no, you should be Team Robby on this. I don't understand why you push back on me. Sorry about ICE because you, sir, have been the victim of an annoying immigrant neighbor.
That is true. You are right about that. Yeah. So, all right, let's keep going. Epstein. Obviously, I don't think we need to go completely up to date on what happened here. The administration's not releasing the documents that they said they were going to release, and now there's a civil war within MAGA world
Yeah.
that's sort of centered around FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, who's a big popular figure who was on top of the Epstein files, and MAGA world was happy to see him appointed to that job. But basically, he's feuding with Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, who's basically in charge of what they view, and I would agree, is a cover-up. And so now the polling is coming out. Trump and his allies want MAGA world to just forget about this whole thing, move on.
That's
But
not happening.
the polls show bipartisan interest. I think it's interesting that Democrats are interested in this case because it wasn't really followed up in great detail in Democratic media, but I think they're like late to the party. But only 17% of Americans currently approve of the administration's actions vis-a-vis Epstein. The question is how, okay, Americans have strong opinions about this issue, but the question is it an issue that they care about a lot compared to, say, high prices and the border?
It is.
Why?
Well, it's two big reasons. First, it's the hypocrisy, right? Because if you're from the right, like I am, what you always hear about is that we have to protect the children. Like it's the party of family values. It's God's own party. It's the Republican Party. Rally around the flag, protect the children, protect the unborn until it becomes inconvenient because it implicates your politicians and your donors. So the hypocrisy there is blatant. So we go from release the files to protect the pedophiles. That's literally where we are right now. Second, that's a big part where, well, before I go to my second point, Dan Bongino, he actually had a show here on Rumble where he was on, he was the leading podcaster. I think his brand is cooked because before he went in, he was leading the charge saying, we've got to release the files. We need to drain the swamp. You have transparency. And then he self-destructs by playing along with Trump saying, oh, there's nothing to see here. Move on. So that's number one.
Mm.
Number two, and this is more to the point, it is revealing to everyone, left, right, and center, that we have a two-tiered justice system. If you're one of the elites, the government will do whatever it takes, including telling blatant lies to everyone to protect you. Like this whole lie that there's nothing to see here. There are no Epstein was a sex trafficker with no customers. That lie is to protect
or
the
maybe
customers.
no victims, more accurately, right? Like if it's a honeypot operation, it's not like necessarily people were paying Epstein.
But they're underage kids. So I mean, by definition, you have victims.
Right. Well, I'm talking all. That's right. Well, of course, the kids are victims. Obviously, I'm sorry to gloss over that. But also the Johns are being entrapped, right? Like they're lured, right? So,
Of course.
I mean, that looks like that. It doesn't look like Epstein collected money from anyone for this.
Someone was funding from somewhere.
Right. Well, his lifestyle was funded from somewhere. And it's pretty extreme. I mean, basically, look, it's still being characterized by corporate media as a conspiracy theory, but there's nothing conspiratorial about the fact that this guy was insanely wealthy and that there's no a clear source of income to explain it. There's nothing conspiratorial about the fact that he hung out with British royalty, American presidents, including the current one and former President Clinton, that he had his own private plane.
Three of them. Yeah,
right.
3 private jets.
Three, because one could be in the shop. You kind of need to have. I mean, he was spectacularly rich, and there's no explanation for it. Nor is there really any explanation for why and how all these people met him and hung out with him and fell into his orbit. There's never been any explanation about that. I mean, it's kind of like, well, maybe there's a reasonable explanation. I would think that after all these years, one would have surfaced.
Yeah, I completely agree. And really what this all kind of boils down to is when Trump ran in his first term, he had 2 slogans. One is Make America Great Again, which is kind of vague. But then he had one that's very specific, Drain the Swamp.
Mm.
It's that draining the swamp is what's coming back now to haunt him, because people are finally starting to realize Trump is a creature of the swamp. Yes. And so that hypocrisy is really starting to come out. And like this lady, the story with the HOA, you go to jail, you literally go to jail if you're a working class schmuck for having mold on your mailbox.
That's what Marjorie Taylor Greene said a couple of days ago.
But if you're
normal people go to jail just for anything.
Yeah, and that's the point, right? Because we have a 2-tier justice system. If you are rich, if you are a Sean Hannity type or richer, or if you are a Bill Gates type, or if you are a well-connected politician, you can literally rape someone and nothing will happen to you.
Right.
Whereas if you are a normal working class schmuck,
why is this complicated for the media, by the way? I mean, it's like, look, here's the thing. We know Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell trafficked underage girls.
But we don't know that. We don't know that. There's no client list. We don't know that.
Well,
that's the whole thing. Like Ghislaine Maxwell,
he was in prison. He died in jail waiting for that, and she's in prison potentially for life, right, for the same thing.
Exactly.
Okay, but the point is, to whom, right? That's the thing. It's trafficked to whom?
Exactly. I mean,
it wasn't only Epstein.
I mean, for example, so Ted, let's just say, for example, if I was peddling your books on the black market, what I'm doing is I'm going through and I'm stealing your books. I've scanned them all and I'm selling them all at a discount. And then you can come after me saying, okay, this guy, Robby, he is poaching my books. He's selling all my work. But if I have no customers, how can I possibly be selling your books? That's the whole. Right. That's a dumb analogy, but I mean that's the best way I can think of to break it down to just a normal schmuck.
No. Clearly, there's other people involved.
Of course,
here, and we want to know who they are. I mean, it's entirely possible that there's not enough evidence to charge them or whatever, but that doesn't mean. I mean, they could say that, right? And I mean, I said this with on my other show with John Kiriakou, Deprogram. I mean. It seems to me like the administration could drive a stake through this whole problem by simply inviting, a range of reporters from far left to far right and in between to go and say, look, we're going to let you into a room. You can examine all of the evidence. You are not allowed to name any names of anyone that you see in those files. But broadly speaking, you can report about what you saw. You can say, yes, there's 13 suspects, but we couldn't charge them because 2 were dead and 11, there wasn't enough evidence or whatever. Like, they could do that, but they're choosing to have no transparency whatsoever.
But you know why, right? Honestly.
Well, it smells bad.
Well, it's worse than that. If Epstein is running a honey trap, and I believe that he was.
Yeah, I do too.
Someone is
the only explanation that makes sense to me. Someone
is baiting the trap. Right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think we know who.
So the ultimate question is, who is baiting the honey trap? Who does this benefit? Who is benefiting from the blackmail? That's what they're protecting. And I'm going to go on the record, and I fully believe it is Israel. And that's why the Republicans and the Republicans and the Democrats, neither one will touch this thing because it is kryptonite.
And you will. And the thing is, if you look at the list of people who are in the Little Black Book,
sure.
The people who flew on the Lolita Express, right? Correct me if I'm mistaken. Please do. I don't think one of them has ever been on the record criticizing the Israeli government.
Not one. Yeah. If not one. I've never seen one. Like yesterday after work, I was going through just diving into this because on my own podcast, I've been thinking about just doing something about this. And the way that he's coming out, he sends out this email to the same influencers that he first invited to the White House with those BS Epstein binders. Said, "Look, we're releasing everything." They released nothing. Now those same people are saying, "Oh, I'm done talking about Epstein." But that's a split. Because I sent you that thing about Tucker Carlson yesterday. So you have Charlie Kirk, your arch Zionist Republican talking head, who is the MAGA faction, versus the America First faction, which is where Tucker is and Dave Smith and these other people. Like, no, we're not going to let this thing lie. And really, what I think is going to happen, I think this is going to take on a life of its own. And I think that we're going to start seeing just a lot of people, not even populists, just normal people from the left and the right, just normal people say, why is our government protecting pedophiles? Because they are.
What about the role of the Democrats? Democrats are trying to, jump on board in this and say, look, the people deserve to hear about Epstein and all that. It's a little dangerous for them too, though, right? Because Epstein ensnared people like Bill Clinton.
Well, it's political theater. If the Democrats are serious, what they would do, like the next must-pass bill that comes through, they'd say, we are not going to vote for it unless you release everything.
Right.
That's the power of forcing the vote. I mean, but they're not going to do that. This is all theater. Now, what I'm hoping is what's going to happen, because the margins in Congress are so small, they're so tight. Now, if you can get some Ro Khannas, and if you get some Thomas Masseys, if you get 40 people in Congress, or hell, even less than that, 30, and just say, we are not going to pass this thing unless everything is released, full transparency, they could disrupt the entire system, which is what we need.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see. I mean, look, Donald Trump is a political survivor of many, many scandals, from pussy grabbing and a bunch of other stuff. 34 felony counts, money laundering, for fucking a hooker, you name it. So he's smart. And obviously he looks at this, and I would tell him the same thing. Something will come up. There will be a terrorist attack, something will happen, and this will be blown off the headlines, and you won't have to worry about it.
That, or he'll escalate with Russia. I mean, because these are all things that you're able to do, right? So all you got to do is you can create another scandal. Mm-hmm. But then, the question is that you start at is that because social media that never dies, and then you have the midterm elections next month or next year. Mm-hmm. I don't think that this is going to go away, Ted. And this is a problem of Trump's own making. It feels like that.
It really feels like it's getting. It feels like it's escalating, and we're now in like almost entering the second week of this.
Yeah, it's not. It is not going to go away. And one of the things I disagree with Cenk Uygur on everything. I don't think he's honest. I think he's a grifter. I think he just talks out both sides of his mouth. But to see him, of all people, come out and sounding like me, it's freaking wild. And so, and I hope that it's sincere, because if he has a sincere bone in his body, if he cares about children being victimized in Gaza, then you also got to care about kids being victimized here. Now, is there a difference? Sure. In Gaza, we're killing them. Here, we're raping them for profit. But either way,
and the numbers are much bigger in Gaza too, right?
But that's the intersection. If it's about the kids, it's about the kids. Mm-hmm. And if it's about government corruption, it's about government corruption. And if Israel is committing a genocide, which it is, how is Israel able to get all the support? If they're running a honey trap, there's your answer. AIPAC's part of it, But the other thing is, if they got you diddling a 14-year-old kid, what are you going to do?
Yeah, you're not going
This is the kryptonite.
Yeah, you are not going to. You're not going to speak up, obviously. And I think about people conversely who do criticize Israel, right? None of them, like Jimmy Carter, criticized Israel, called it an apartheid state. He didn't hang out with Epstein.
No,
All right,
I didn't.
Let's move on here. So so in Minnesota, the FBI back in February was looking into the allegation, and it seems credible, that judges and lawyers in Minnesota who basically, let me roll this back a little bit. So back in starting last year when ICE started earlier this year when ICE started their crackdowns, one of their big tactics has been to go to court hearings where undocumented migrants have been attending their court hearing, either to continue their application to be allowed to stay here legally, or because they have some other civil or criminal matter before the court that's unrelated to their immigration application. Anyway, the ICE officers hang out at the courthouse, and then they wait for the immigrants to come out of court, and then they arrest them and deport them, right? So in Minnesota, there's already been one judge who was like pissed off about this, doesn't like the fact that she views it as bad for the court system if people are scared to go to court for unrelated matters because they're going to be deported. So she tried to help smuggle an illegal immigrant out the back door, and he was busted, and she's been arrested, right? And now it turns out that the latest attempt, it looks like, on the part of lawyers and judges in Minnesota to dodge ICE is to tell lawyers, hey, listen, don't bring your client down. We'll pretend like it's COVID times, and we'll do the hearing by Zoom. And so now the FBI is investigating this, and there's a new memo from Emil Bowe, who was then the acting deputy attorney general and a Trump nominee for appellate judge, who basically was saying that people who do things like this should be prosecuted. And now the DOJ is looking into that. Kind of a big deal, right? I mean, it's a war between the ruling classes. It's a war between the state judiciary and the federal government. So it's about states' rights versus federal rights. It's about the idea of whether a courtroom should be a safe space for anybody, or whether it should be perilous if you you're an undocumented worker to go, you stand a chance of being arrested by ICE if you show up. Maybe you shouldn't show up. It would be smarter not to. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. And then there's the question of whether a judge or an attorney who's an officer of the court has a legal or ethical responsibility or right at that to resist ICE at all, considering that it's a government agency carrying out American law. I personally think I'm very sympathetic with the idea that we want people to be able to feel safe to go to court, right? Like, I think if you're an undocumented worker, or you're an illegal immigrant, and you see a fire, I really want you to call the fire department. I don't want you to be worried about, getting arrested by ICE. I want you to think, this is safe, I can do this. Or if you see a person who mugged me run away, I want you to call the NYPD and tell them, because and not to have to worry about being arrested. And if you have some business before the court, let's say you're a witness in a case, like you're a witness in my case, I want you to feel like you can come be a witness in my case without getting deported by ICE. Robby, what do you think?
To be honest with you, I think that it's horrible that the attorneys and the judges are having to make this issue, because I'm a big states' rights guy. Big surprise, I'm from the South. I mean, if I was the governor, I would order the county sheriff to arrest the ICE agents when they show up there at the courthouse. It should not be up to the judge. It should not be up to the attorneys to do this. People don't understand the power that a sheriff has in their county, that they are the highest law enforcement officer in their county. So if you want to protect your illegal immigrants whenever they come to court, the best way to do it is for the governor to show some leadership for the states to start taking back their power. And if you want to invite the ICE agents there, you tell them you will leave or I will have you arrested for trespassing. And I will drive you to the county line and I will let you out. You're not welcome here.
But of course, we know in previous clashes between federal and local power, the feds, under the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution, they're going to prevail in court and in fact, right? Like we see what's going on in L.A. with the ICE raids that have pissed off even the LAPD. Sure. But there's nothing the LAPD can do about it. If a local sheriff in Minneapolis, St. Paul decides to defy the authorities and arrests an ICE agent, I think they're going to get into a lot of trouble.
Well, that's why that's why the leadership has to come from the governor, right? Because people don't understand what a federal system is. When the United States was set up, first, it wasn't called the United States. It was called these United States. The reason why states are called states and not provinces is because each state acts and functions, at least in theory, as an independent nation state united in a federal system. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Am I on the right road here?
Yeah, no, I think you're. I think look, this is a constant place of tension, right? This is like people have been fighting about this since the dawn of the Republic.
Yeah, well, and for very good reason. It's just it all kind of comes down to how much power does the federal government have? What people don't realize is that the federal government is a creation of the state. The state is not a creation of the federal government. The 9th and 10th Amendments are very clear. The Constitution is a bill of negative rights. And I realize I'm about to lose a lot of people here, but just listen to me. Any power that is not given to the federal government, specifically in the Constitution, is reserved to the states and to the people. And the founders were so adamant about this that they codified it in not one, but 2 different amendments to the Constitution, the 9th and 10th Amendments. The state has the power to defy the federal government, to nullify federal law. The federal government has jurisdiction over interstate commerce and interstate affairs. It has nothing to do with intrastate power or intrastate affairs.
But what we need immigration enforcement is a federal matter.
I agree. And so that's going to be the constitutional clash, right? I mean, me personally, I want every migrant deported.
Right.
However,
I know you do.
How
you do something matters.
It does. And so, like, say, for example, if the state of Montana says, listen, I want to keep all these migrants here driving down the wages of the people who live here in Montana because I need all these Mexicans or whatever to work the ranches, then there is a rectifying issue. A way to fix that problem is called an election. You vote that governor out, and then you invite ICE in later on. That's how you do this. That is the check that the people have on state government. In the case of Minnesota, I'm actually going to side with. I'm about to break a bunch of brains here. I'm siding with what the judges are trying to do, but they need to put pressure on the governor for the governor to stand up, for Tim Walz to stand up and tell the federal government, you will not do this. I will order my sheriffs to arrest your agents and take them to the county line. Set it up. Then what the federal government's going to do is that they're going to say, well, we're going to cut off your federal funding, in which case then at that point, the state then can say, fine, we will no longer send you a dime of income tax money.
Right. True.
That's how you do this. And why it takes some stupid hick without a college degree from Montana to articulate this when you have people who've gone to Harvard and they can't even articulate what I just did in my imperfect autistic way.
Well, because it would require.
I don't understand it.
Well, because it would require, guts. Something that, yeah.
Well, hey, if you want to keep your migrants, then you got to fight for them. But then, come election time, you've got to explain why you're prioritizing the migrant over the citizen. That's a question between you and your electorate. The federal government does not have the right, it does not have the power, it does not have the authority to dictate terms to a state. It does not. And that's and for me, that's one of the biggest one of the darkest days in American history was April 9th, 1865. When Lee surrendered, states' rights died.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so that needs to be revived. It needs to come back.
We will see what happens with Governor Tim Walz. Somehow he doesn't seem to me like
No.
A seething cauldron of constitutional crisis, but we'll see.
Y'all, I'll tell y'all what. If we can get crowdfunded, if y'all will support me, I will run for governor of Montana. And if I win, I will show every last swinging dick of y'all how to fight the federal government. Because by God, I'd do it.
Well, at least Montana would be a good state to test that out, because Montana is, of course, extremely libertarian. It'd have to be Montana or Idaho or a state like that. All right. So Jane's Addiction, big band of the 1990s, kind of famous for not getting along very well. Dave Navarro, Eric Avery, and Stephen Perkins are now suing lead singer Perry Farrell for assault, battery, emotional distress, negligent, breach of fiduciary duty, and breach of contract after they got into a fist fight last September at Leader Bank Pavilion in Boston, which led to the cancellation of the reunion tour and the breakup of the band. The band is saying that the fallout from the fight on stage caused losses of over $10 million. Navarro personally lost $50,000 in wedding deposits and $25,000 in monthly disability payments due to the tour's abrupt end. During a performance of Ocean Size, Farrell, pissed off about something, charged at Navarro, elbowed him, and was restrained by crew and bandmates, leading to his removal from the stage. Farrell countersued, alleging a years-long bullying campaign involving harassment and playing instruments too loudly so that no one could hear his vocals, culminating in the physical assault by Navarro and Avery during and after the show in Boston. Farrell's lawsuit, joined by his wife and the band's tour company, says that the band scapegoated him by falsely claiming he was crazy and blaming his lunacy for that. It should be pointed out that this kind of thing has happened before. My favorite, I looked this up because there's so many examples. The Ramones were always at odds and almost coming to blows at times over a girl in particular. In Oasis, there was a backstage fight in Paris where Liam Gallagher smashed his brother Noel Gallagher's guitar. Noel quit and the band broke up after that, and there were constant lawsuits. But the best one has to be the Kinks. Ray, another pair of brothers, Ray and Dave Davies. Dave was always like sort of the nicer one, and Ray is the smarter one, but also a prick. Anyway, they used to punch each other on stage all the time and insult each other. But finally, all things came to a head at Dave's 50th birthday party in 1996, where Ray jumped onto his cake and prompted Dave to call Ray toxic and an asshole. The band broke up, and they've been fighting over royalties and creative control ever since. There was a brief reunion 2 years ago, which blinked and I missed. I'm really sad about that. I'm a huge Kinks fan, in all seriousness. Famously, the Beach Boys had lawsuits. The recently departed Brian Wilson was sued by Mike Love over royalties and songwriting credits. Aerosmith. This is also kind of funny. Terry Hamilton, who was the wife of the bassist, threw milk at Joe Perry's wife, Aissa. This led to Steven Tyler threatening to fire Perry, and they nearly beat each other up. Perry left Aerosmith until '84, and then there were lots of lawsuits, and they were constantly at each other's throats. You can go on and on. CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Tom versus John Fogerty. There's a brothers thing here that happens a lot. They were constantly suing each other. And after Tom left the band in 1971, they never reconciled before Tom died in 1990. And then John later was accused of plagiarism from over this. So rock be spicy, and I'm not just so you know, Jane's Addiction obviously they're an important band. Not my favorite. Never really cared for their music that much, but I get why people like them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what it is. I think that if you put in just all the traveling, all of the road time, and then you factor in the self medication that seems to be a pretty common thread, and then the booze, and then everything else, and that they call it dope for a reason. I think that it just kind of self explanatory. Short story, well, not short story, short lesson: don't do drugs, kids. Because if you do, you'll end up getting into fist fights on stages and destroying yourself economically. So if you're
And
going to do
looking like a
this,
fool.
stay sober. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it is, and it's actually such a tragedy about like, I mean, certainly CCR, great band, the Kinks, great band. It really sucks to see that happen. I mean, these the way things just blow up that way. Finally, last but not least, there's been an outbreak in Florida of 11 cases of a rare flesh-eating bacteria. I guess not rare enough. 4 people died in Bay, Broward, Hillsborough, and St. John's counties, and that according to a July 11th health update. This particular, if you're keeping track of your flesh-eating bacteria, this one's called Vibrio vulnificus. So it thrives in warm, brackish seawater, which Florida has a lot of, and it infects you through open wounds or raw seafood consumption. Causes very severe symptoms like necrotizing fasciitis, which kills your tissue and may require you to be amputated if it doesn't kill you. If you have a compromised immune system, liver disease, or open wounds, you're at higher risk. Infections of flesh-eating bacteria are fatal in 1 out of 5 cases. So it's serious. And They say that hurricane flooding caused by climate change, but just hurricanes in general, like Helene and Milton, increased the cases last year. There were 82 cases, 19 deaths last year as brackish water spreads to new areas in Florida. So what should you do about it if you're in flesh-eating bacteria territory? Don't drink any water. Stay away from water if you have cuts on your skin. Use waterproof bandages. Cook your seafood all the way through. No sushi for you. Immediate antibiotic treatment is critical. They have to inject it. So my former friend and I were at the movies one night a number of years ago, and he complained that he had that he had been bitten by a spider or some insect, and his fingers started to blow up visibly while we were hanging. And so just out of an abundance of caution, we went to Mount Sinai Hospital on the Upper East Side of Manhattan to the ER. They said, "Oh, it's just a spider bite. Just go get some Benadryl." So he goes home, I go home, and in the middle of the night, he just feels awful. So fortunately, he was a hotel worker. He belonged to a great union that had its own clinic. So 24 hours. So he went to the union clinic, and they're like, "Dude, you have flesh-eating bacteria. You're going to be dead in about 12 hours." So they put him on an IV drip of antibiotics right away. He barely survived. I mean, and it's like, well, how do you get it? Who knows? It's just like walking around New York City. I mean, it's really freaky.
The fact that the hospital missed that is terrifying. Urgent care gets what a hospital misses. I mean, that's pretty bad. So you mentioned he's your former friend. Did you have a falling out, or what happened?
We did have a falling out, yeah. Not over the flesh-eating bacteria.
I was about to say, were you jealous about the bacteria, or
no? I wasn't. I mean, yeah, that's a kink that some people have, but not me. No, he acted like a total douchebag the day my mom died, and I was like, this is really not the day, right. And like, don't fuck with me. Like, my mom is literally. We had the conversation like 12 hours before she died, and he was being an asshole and making it about him. It's like, my mother is dying. Stop. And right. He just couldn't stop. And so I was just like, I never want to talk to you again.
Fair enough. I don't blame you.
Yep.
You guys are, that sounds like a very douchebaggy kind of thing to do, especially since you took him to the hospital. And imagine getting to a hospital in New York City is a feat in and of itself.
Well, it was really easy. We just walked right into the ER. I mean, we were nearby and just walked in.
But
But
you didn't have like a 10 or 12 hour wait.
well, I guess no, not really, not that night. I mean, there's always a wait. I mean, the only time I've ever been seen quickly was when they thought I had a gunshot wound. But and I've kind of like think now if I really needed to go to the ER, I'd probably take a taxi to New Jersey, and I think I'd be seen sooner, even allowing for the traffic, than
Really?
for the drive. Yeah, because you're right. I mean, if you don't have something like where like I can see your arm has been severed, you are bleeding a lot. If they can't see that, they're like, have a seat. It's 4, 6, 8 hours. It's not worth it. I remember one time I was with my ex-wife. We had a little minor car accident, although this is a funny story. So she was being an asshole to the driver. And she's like, drive faster. Why didn't you go? Why didn't you change lanes? Change lanes, do this. And she made him so nervous that he rear-ended a car. And because she was leaning forward to give him a hard time, she smacked her forehead into the divider. And I was kind of like, karma. So we went to the emergency room, to see if she might have a concussion. And it was like, we're waiting. And I was like, you know what? Honestly, we should just go home. You're not going to get any better sitting here in the ER waiting room. Just go home. It'll probably be fine. And it was.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if you're not dizzy and puking, you're probably okay.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is that you could go to sleep and then never wake up. But
hey, if you got to go though, that's the way to go.
well, that's true.
I mean,
always thought,
provided you're
Attila
not
the
the one
Hun was the
driving
way
the
to
car.
go. Attila the Hun died fucking 2 of his wives. I always thought that was the way to go.
Yeah, but that's a pretty gnarly nosebleed that he had though. I've often wondered if he was poisoned.
It's possible. Yeah, he was pretty young. Yeah,
Yeah, he was like in his 40s or something.
and he was a hardy man.
Yeah, and he was banging a Roman princess, so there is that. So there's no real love lost there.
That's true. But if you have to go, you have to go. I mean, yeah, that's like Alexander the Great. He could have easily been poisoned by Roxanne.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, but Afghan princess, not dangerous there at all.
No, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
What could go wrong? All right, guys. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate you. Thank you, Robby, for sitting in for Manila. Manila will be back tomorrow. This is the TMI Show. I'm Ted Rall. That's Robby West. Manila Chan back tomorrow. Please like, follow, and share the show. And we really appreciate you. See you tomorrow, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. in the Pacific. You know how to do the adjustments everywhere else. Yep. And let me see. I got to find my outro here.
Find the outro, Ted.
Where's the outro? Oh, there it is. Bye.